fellow budgeters, my name is Brandy and you're watching From Debt to Dreams, and on this channel we're paying off over $400,000 worth of debt, but don't you fret, way more than half of that is our mortgage. Today we're going to do our February closeout. I think I say this every month, but the category breakdown part of the budget, or like this part of the video, I do not enjoy doing. But I do enjoy doing the debt update budget part, so let's get through this really quickly. Our starting balance in our income checking account, and our cash envelopes, like our spending cash envelopes, was $2,134. Between 3 paydays, because there were 3 paydays in, no, yes. Sorry, let me look. No, there are only 2 paydays. I don't know why I'm counting $10,000 here. Oh, maybe because I moved a lot of money over from our income account, or from our, sorry, I have so many checking accounts. This $2,000 over here is what was in our expense account and the cash envelopes that we spend regularly from. Earned income, the $10,774, that is from our paychecks and the rollover that was in our income account that we used. We also used $272 from our savings, most likely from our savings envelopes. And then we received a tax return of $3,058.13. So our total income for this month was $16,238.37. Oops. So then we move into our categories. For household, that is our mortgage and like HOAs or pest control or that kind of stuff. We budgeted $2,100 and we spent $2,088. So we had a difference of $11. We're at $11 under budget. Groceries, we budgeted $1,200 and we spent $1,051. So the difference was $148 under budget. Cars and gas, we budgeted $525. We ended up spending $950, and that's because we had a car problem with our van. So that difference, so we were $425 over budget there, which is okay. We still had the money. Which probably doesn't matter. I think I'm changing everything around for March. You would think after being on YouTube for over a year, I would have this all figured out, but I don't. For utilities, I budgeted $795 and we only spent $637, so we were $157 under budget. Takeout, I don't budget anything, but we spent $624, which is a lot of money. That's the same amount of groceries for 2 weeks, which is insane. So we were $624 over budget on that one. For tithes, I budget $173 and our actual expense was $144, so we were $29 under budget. For health, I only budgeted $85. We spent $187, so that's $102 over budget. That was like copays, my husband's counseling, and prescriptions. Kids, I didn't budget anything, but we spent $426. Jason, we budgeted $40. He spent $88, so he's $48 over budget. I don't budget anything for me, but I spent $57. $26 was paid to the state of North Carolina for our taxes, so that's where that comes out. I put it under annual fees because that's also kind of like an event, like a thing that we have to do annually. Sadie's surgery, we paid that off with our tax return, so that was $2,955. Savings, we budgeted $1,019 and we saved $1,056. For debt, I budgeted $1,575 and we only sent $1,302 to the debt, which means we were under by $272, and I'll explain why soon. For fun or entertainment, that's like our entertainment subscriptions like Netflix and Apple TV and that kind of stuff. And that is 140, or we budgeted 57 and we spent 149. So we were $92 over budget. For celebrations and gifts, we spent $114, and then school we spent $91. So our total budget that I like planned for, which is like why I need to change this, because I have the money in our savings envelopes, but I don't budget for them because like they come up throughout. So I don't know. I have to think about things a little bit. But anyway, for what we were planning on spending, we had $7,569. We actually spent $11,952, which means we were over budget by $4,383. But that's okay because we had the money to do that. So, hold please. Okay. So let's go into debt. So let's look at the totals. All right, let's go over our debt complete total, like over total, okay? So our January 2026 balance was $421,777.24. Our February 2026 balance is $421,434.17, which means we only paid a principal of $343. And our interest, but our interest went down by $300. So this is kind of a messed up number this month, because we ended up refinancing my husband's student loans so that we would no longer have to worry about the whims of the federal government and whether it's going to be, I was just really tired of the federal government and the student loan process. And his student loans are so large that they were going to expect a lot of money from us that we could not provide for them. So we've refinanced. So let me show you what that looks like here. First, let's do our Christmas and make sure I'm in frame. Okay. So for Christmas, I add $50 every paycheck. And so by the time but when I was doing all of the numbers, we were at $450 for Christmas. So I get to color in 8 thingamabobbers. Let me move this out of the way really quick. So we have 8 icons I get to color in. So I'll be right back. All right, so we now have in our Christmas account $450, and we have 34 icons colored in. Pretty great. For our emergency fund, I use 2 different accounts for my emergency fund. And in my high yield savings account, we have $405. And in so we'll put that right here, 405. And then in my credit union, we have $966 plus, which I gotta find out which binder it's in because I still don't know my binders well enough. Plus in cash, we have $108. So we are at 1,000, is that right? 405 plus 966. There we go. That's what I thought. Plus 108. So we're at $1,479 in our emergency fund. And we still have this one colored up to 1,600. So we can't color up here quite yet, but we're getting there. All right. Then we move on to our debts. We've got 2 student loans and 1 debt consolidation loan. So for my student loan, which is now the lowest balance, we were able to pay $360. We had $180 for our regular payment, and then we finished a challenge in January for $180. And so we made 2 payments. So now our total balance is now $21,252.26. And each of these leaves is represents $56. And so today we get to color in 4 of them. And we're coloring it for February. So let's use this really cute. Let's use this bright pink one because it's been a while since we used a bright pink one, but we get to fill in 4. So we'll color in these last 3 on this plant. And I'm just going to color this one right now. And then I'm also going to color in the pot that the plant is in, and I'll be right back. All right, we finished our first plant. Yay! Okay, then we move over here to our debt consolidation loan, and we made our regular minimum payment of $942.91. So now our debt consolidation balance is at $61,086.90. So we use multiple trackers for this loan. And because of that, we get to finish this tracker. So I'm so excited about that. And then we get to move on to this next tracker where each individual spot equals $9.17. So we're going to fill out the rest of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then we're going to fill in 5 of these. So I will be right back. Hooray! Okay, so now let's explain what's happening with my husband's student loans. These are in the wrong order. I'll change that off camera. Okay, so we refinanced my husband's student loans. When I put in the application for the refinance, I put in the balance of the loan at the time of the application, obviously, which was $65,982. But I had, while we were waiting to be approved for the loan and get all the paperwork done, I had made a couple of payments on the student loans. So there is an overage, I guess, and I don't know if I'm assuming that Mohila, who is the company that services the student loan, will send us a check for that $550. And when that happens, I don't know if we are going to put it towards, we will put it towards a debt. I don't know if it'll be my student loan, since that's the one we're working on, or if we're going to put it towards my husband's student loan, like back to that. So I haven't quite decided what we're going to do with it yet, because either way it's going to be done. So that's why it looked like things were a little higher this month, and why things were less. So there was a lot less interest because the new student loan, or the student loan refinance, those payments don't start until March. And then the payments were lower because we didn't make any payments, because those payments start in March. And we didn't even have to make a payment for the Mohila because the refinance company paid off that loan, if that makes sense. So there is what's going on there. Okay. So for our mortgage balance is $490. no, 400. Oh my gosh, I would die. Our mortgage balance is $273,113. And the next time we get to color in a tracker or a spot in our tracker here is when we are at $272,464. So we have about $700 to go before we can color in another tracker, which is fine. I usually don't, I know we don't get to color in one of these trackers, you know, for, it's usually a couple of months, 2 or 3 months before we get to color in a piece of that tracker. And then in our total debt-free tracker, the next time we can color in something is when we are at $419,255, and we are still at $421,434. So it's going to be a hot minute, especially since we just filled one in December, where it's going to be a hot minute, and that's okay. That is okay. So that's where we are at for the debt. So let's look at the net worth. So when I wrote down all these balances, this is where things were on this day, which I believe I did this on the 27th. We had a balance in our credit union of $2,410. That is between 4 accounts. We have our expense account, our income account, a savings account for like our emergency savings, and then we have an account in there for the children that I believe I'm going to close out because I want to move that kid money to the high yield savings account. In our cash envelopes in all of the binders, we had $368. Our that's just our spending binder. In all the rest of the binders, we had $1,594. And in our Allied Savings account, we have $1,589, which puts us at a total balance of our assets at $5,961. Our liabilities, which is our debt, we're at $21,252 for my student loan, $65,982 for Jason's student loan, $61,086 for the debt consolidation, and $273,113 for our mortgage, which puts us at $421,434. So when you do your assets minus your liabilities, this month our net worth is negative $415,472, which means we increased our net worth by $678, which this I just do for, like I say, kind of shits and giggles, because I don't, and people in the comments come after me, not come after me, but like talk about how I should do this. I don't count our 401ks. I don't count our house. And I don't count the equity in our cars because I just see cars as a tool. I don't really see them as like any kind of money-making opportunity. So to me, they're always a liability, even when they're paid off, because you always have to put work into them. So I just do this to simplify my net worth and just to kind of track. I just always want to make sure this difference is going into the positive. Like we are not ever adding into our liabilities. So that's where we're at. This was hopefully kind of short and sweet. And I hope that I explained things well. Like I said, my husband and I are discussing possibly changing things up. We might move to a system that I see other creators doing where we use our credit card during the month and still cash stuff, use our credit card during the month, and then use this cash in our envelopes to pay the credit card. Still staying within budget. And we're doing that. We're talking about doing that. And I think a lot of that is just because we are running so low on time. Our family is so busy. We are so busy right now. We're just entering a busy season of our life, or we have been in a busy season in our life for a while. And so like, if we can simplify like grocery shopping and stuff like that by doing it online and just picking it up, that is something that we have not been doing, but it's something we're thinking about doing just because it might be a time saver for us. It's not my favorite thing to think about doing those kinds of things. I'm kind of old school. I like going to the grocery store. I like paying with cash. I like going to a checkout line where someone is checking me out instead of me doing it myself. I'm kind of old school like that. So having somebody else shop for me is kind of nerve-wracking, but we think we might try it out just to see how it goes and see if we like that, and then move towards using our Costco credit card so that we can get some like cash back. Like we're spending the money anyway, we might as well get some of those rewards out of it. We just need to make sure that we're keeping ourselves accountable and not running into a slippery slope, because in the past, credit cards have been a very slippery slope for us. So, but we think we're in a spot now where it would be okay. We'll just try it out. We'll see what happens. So we're still talking about that. But anyway, that's where I'm at. And that's where we landed in February. So I hope that you stick around and come back again on Wednesday when we're working on our Harry Potter Savings Challenge box. We'll see you then. Bye.